The day the Galactic Empire came to Earth started like any other day. People went to work. Children went to school. Birds sang in the trees. Nobody knew that everything was about to change forever. The Imperial fleet arrived at noon. 1,000 warships blocked out the sun over every major city on the planet. They were massive things, each one bigger than a mountain. The people of Earth looked up at the sky and felt fear for the first time in their lives. High Admiral Zorak stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion. He was a Velkari, a race of tall beings with gray skin and 4 arms. His people had conquered 300 worlds. Earth would be number 301. He looked at the blue planet below and felt nothing but boredom. This was just another primitive world. The humans had only just started exploring their own solar system. They had no shields, no plasma weapons, no faster-than-light travel. They were nothing. "Send the message," Zorak said to his communications officer. The message went out to every screen, every radio, every device on Earth. It was simple and direct. "People of Earth, you are now subjects of the Galactic Empire. You will serve. You will obey. Any resistance will be punished. You have 1 hour to surrender your governments." The leaders of Earth gathered quickly. They talked. They argued. Some wanted to fight. Others wanted to surrender. In the end, they had no choice. The Empire had weapons that could burn cities to ash in seconds. Earth had nothing that could even scratch the paint on those ships. Earth surrendered. The first year was hard. The Empire took what it wanted. They took minerals from the ground. They took food from the farms. They took water from the seas. They took people for labor in distant mines and factories. Millions of humans were loaded onto transport ships and sent to the far corners of the galaxy. But the worst thing the Empire did was not the theft or the slavery. The worst thing was the contempt. The Velkari and the other imperial races looked at humans like insects. They laughed at human art. They mocked human science. They destroyed human history, burning libraries and museums because they said human culture had no value. "You are nothing," the imperial governor told the people of Earth. "You exist only to serve." But the governor did not understand humans. He did not know that humans had survived ice ages and plagues. He did not know that humans had fought countless wars against each other and always rebuilt. He did not know that humans never stayed beaten for long. The resistance started small. A sabotaged mining machine here, a stolen weapon there. Messages passed in secret. People met in hidden places. They planned, they waited, they learned. Elena Vasquez was one of the first leaders of the resistance. Before the invasion, she had been a physicist working on fusion power. Now she worked in a factory making parts for imperial weapons. Every day she watched the aliens and learned their technology. Every night she taught what she learned to others. "Their shields use a crystal matrix," she told her group one night. "If we can find the right frequency, we can disrupt them." "How long will that take?" asked Marcus Chen, a former engineer. "Years," Elena said. "Maybe decades, but we have time. Our children will continue the work, and their children after them. We will never stop." The Empire noticed the resistance, of course. They sent soldiers to crush it. They executed anyone they caught. They burned entire cities to make examples. But for every person they killed, 10 more joined the fight. High Admiral Zorax received reports about the growing problem on Earth. He was not worried. He had seen resistance before. It always failed in the end. The Empire was too strong. "Increase the garrison," he ordered. "Double the patrols. These humans will learn their place." But the humans were learning something else entirely. They were learning how to fight an empire. 10 years passed. The resistance grew stronger. They had weapons now, stolen and copied from the Empire. They had ships, small ones hidden in the deep oceans and underground bases. They had something else too, something the Empire could not understand. They had hope. Elena Vasquez, now older with gray in her hair, stood before a gathering of resistance leaders from every continent. Behind her was a holographic display showing the schematics of an Imperial battle cruiser. "We have done it," she said. "We have cracked their shield technology. Our weapons can now hurt them." The room exploded with cheers. Some people cried. They had worked so long for this moment. "But we cannot attack yet," Alina continued. "We are still too weak. We need more ships, more weapons, more training. We need to build an army without them knowing." Marcus Chen nodded. He was the leader of the military arm of the resistance now. "How long?" 20 years, Alina said. "Maybe 30. We build in secret, we train our people. We wait for the right moment. And when that moment comes, we strike so hard they never recover." "That is a long time," someone said. "Yes," Alina agreed. "But remember what they took from us. Remember our friends and family sent to die in their mines. Remember our history burned to ashes. Remember how they called us nothing." Her eyes burned with cold fire. "We will show them what nothing can do." The building began. Deep in the mountains and under the oceans, humans constructed shipyards. They reverse-engineered every piece of Imperial technology they could get their hands on. They improved on it. They made it their own. The Empire saw none of it. They were too confident. They thought humans were broken, obedient, tame. They did not know that beneath their feet an army was being born. High Admiral Zorax was promoted to Grand Admiral and put in charge of an entire sector. He rarely thought about Earth anymore. It was just another conquered world, producing resources and labor for the Empire. The minor troubles there had settled down. Everything was under control. He could not have been more wrong. 25 years after the invasion, Alina Vasquez died. She never saw the liberation she worked so hard to bring. But before she passed, she gave a final order to her successor, General James Okonkwo. "Do not mourn me," she said from her bed. "Just promise me one thing. When the time comes, show them no mercy. They showed us none." James held her hand. "I promise." 5 more years passed. The human fleet was ready. Hidden in bases scattered across the solar system, humanity had built 300 warships. They were not as big as Imperial vessels, but they were fast, tough, and crewed by people who had spent their whole lives training for war. More importantly, humanity had developed something the Empire did not have. They called it the Spite Drive. It was faster than anything the Empire used. While Imperial ships needed days to cross a star system, human ships could do it in hours. The Empire had given humans access to their technology, confident that the primitive species could never improve on it. They were wrong. Humanity had not just caught up to the Empire. In some ways, they had surpassed it. General Okonkwo stood on the bridge of the flagship, the Alina Vasquez. Around him, officers worked at their stations with quiet efficiency. On the main screen, he could see the Imperial garrison fleet orbiting Earth. 20 warships, the same ones that had been there for decades. "Status report," he said. "All ships report ready," his tactical officer replied. "Ground forces are in position. Civilian evacuation from combat zones is complete." Okonkwo took a deep breath. This was the moment 30 years of work had led to. Billions of people had sacrificed everything for this day. He would not let them down. "Begin Operation Vengeance," he ordered. The human fleet emerged from hiding like ghosts. They came from behind moons, from inside asteroid fields, from beneath the ice of frozen planets. The Imperial garrison had no warning. One moment their sensors showed nothing. The next moment they were surrounded. Imperial Commander Thrak was drinking tea when the alarm started. He dropped his cup and ran to the bridge. What he saw made his blood freeze. "Impossible," he whispered. "Where did they get ships?" "Sir, they are targeting our vessels," his officer reported, voice shaking. "Their weapons are penetrating our shields." How is that possible?" Nobody answered. There was no time for answers. The human ships attacked with a fury that shocked the Imperial crews. They had expected primitives with stolen weapons, not coordinated fleet tactics that rivaled the best Imperial commanders. The battle lasted 4 hours. When it ended, all 20 Imperial warships were destroyed or captured. Humanity lost only 8 vessels. It was a complete victory. On the ground, the story was the same. Resistance fighters who had been pretending to be workers for decades revealed their true colors. Imperial soldiers found themselves ambushed at every turn. Bases that had stood for 30 years fell in hours. By sunset on that first day, Earth was free. General Okonkwo broadcast a message to the planet. Everywhere, people stopped what they were doing to listen. "People of Earth," he said, "today we have taken back our home. The Empire thought we were weak. They thought we were broken. They were wrong. We are humans. We do not break. We do not surrender. And we never ever forget." Cheering erupted across the world. People danced in the streets. Flags that had been hidden for 30 years were raised once more. Earth was free. But Okonkwo was not finished. "The Empire will send more ships," he continued. "They will try to take our world again. They will fail. And when they fail, we will take the fight to them. We will free every human they enslaved. We will make them pay for every life they stole. We will show the galaxy what happens when you make enemies of Earth." The cheering grew even louder. News of Earth's rebellion reached Grand Admiral Zorax 3 days later. He was in his palace on the sector capital when his aide brought him the report. He read it twice, certain there was some mistake. 20 ships lost," he said. "The entire garrison, that is impossible." "The reports are confirmed, Grand Admiral. Earth has declared independence. They have destroyed our fleet there." Zorax crushed the data pad in his 4 hands. Rage filled him. He had conquered Earth. It was his prize, his achievement. And now these insects had dared to rise against him. "Assemble the sector fleet," he ordered. "Every ship we have. We go to Earth and we burn it to cinders. No survivors, no mercy. I want that planet turned to glass." His aide hesitated. "Grand Admiral, the sector fleet is 200 ships, but intelligence suggests the humans may have more vessels hidden. Perhaps we should request support from the Imperial Corps." Zorax struck him, sending him sprawling across the floor. "Request support? For primitives? I will not be humiliated further. 200 ships is more than enough to destroy these pests. We leave in 1 week." The aide picked himself up and bowed. "As you command, Grand Admiral." Zorax stared out at the stars, his mind burning with thoughts of revenge. He would make the humans suffer. He would make them beg. And when they begged, he would ignore their pleas and continue destroying them until not one was left alive. He did not know that humanity was thinking the exact same thing about him. Back on Earth, preparations were underway. Shipyards that had been hidden were now working openly, building new vessels at a pace that would have seemed impossible a year ago. Training camps produced thousands of new soldiers every week. Scientists worked around the clock to improve weapons and defenses. General Okonkwo met with his commanders in what had once been the Imperial Governor's mansion. "Intelligence reports Zorax is assembling his fleet," he told them. 200 ships, maybe more. He will be here in about 2 weeks. "We have 300 ships," Admiral Sarah Kim said. She was the commander of the human fleet. "We can meet him in space." "We will," Okonkwo agreed. "But I do not just want to defeat him. I want to destroy him so completely that the Empire thinks twice before ever attacking us again. I want them to fear us." The commanders nodded. They all felt the same way. 30 years of suffering had created a cold, patient anger that demanded more than simple victory. They wanted the Empire to learn a lesson it would never forget. "There is something else," Okonkwo said. "We have received messages from other worlds, planets the Empire has conquered. They saw what we did. They are asking for help." Silence fell over the room. This was not just about Earth anymore. This was about something much bigger. What do we tell them? Admiral Kim asked. Okonkwo thought for a moment. Then he smiled, but it was not a kind smile. We tell them to wait. We tell them that humanity is coming. And we tell them that when we come, the Empire will fall. Grand Admiral Zorax's fleet arrived in the Sol system on a Tuesday. 215 warships emerged from faster-than-light travel, their weapons charged and their crews ready for battle. Zorax stood on his bridge, watching the blue dot of Earth grow larger on his screen. "Scan for enemy vessels," he ordered. His sensor officer worked his console, then frowned. "Grand Admiral, I am detecting numerous contacts. Human ships, they are everywhere." "How many?" The officer's voice trembled. 322 vessels confirmed, more emerging from behind planetary bodies. Zorax felt a chill run down his spine, but he pushed it aside. Numbers meant nothing. The Empire had won countless battles against superior numbers. Discipline and firepower always won in the end. "Form battle line," he commanded. "All ships prepare to engage." The Imperial fleet organized itself into a classic wedge formation, with Zorax's flagship at the tip. It was a formation that had crushed 100 enemies. It would crush these humans too. But the humans did not form a battle line to meet them. Instead, they split into dozens of small groups and began to circle the Imperial fleet like wolves around a herd of prey. "What are they doing?" Zorax demanded. "Unknown formation, Grand Admiral. Our tactical computers do not recognize it." That was because human tactics were not based on Imperial doctrine. For 30 years, human commanders had studied every battle the Empire had ever fought. They knew Imperial tactics better than the Imperials did, and they had developed strategies specifically designed to counter them. Admiral Kim's voice came over the human fleet's communication network. "All ships, execute pattern spite. Remember why we are here. Remember what they did. Give them nothing." The human ships attacked. They came in fast, too fast for Imperial targeting systems to track properly. They fired their weapons at point-blank range, where shields were weakest. They worked in perfect coordination, multiple ships focusing on single targets before moving to the next. Imperial ships began to explode. Zorax watched in horror as his carefully organized formation fell apart. Ships tried to turn to face attackers, only to expose their flanks to others. Captains screamed for support that could not reach them in time. In the first hour of battle, 40 Imperial vessels were destroyed. "Fall back," Zorax ordered. "Regroup at the outer planets." But falling back was not easy when enemy ships were faster than yours. The humans pursued, picking off damaged vessels and stragglers. What was supposed to be a retreat turned into a rout. By the time the survivors reached the outer system, Zorax had lost half his fleet. 112 ships destroyed in a single engagement. It was the worst defeat in Imperial history. "Grand Admiral," his communications officer said, "we are receiving a transmission from the human flagship." Zorax's hands trembled with rage and fear. "Put it through." General Okonkwo's face appeared on the screen. He was calm, almost serene. "Grand Admiral Zorax," he said, "you came to our world 30 years ago. You took our freedom. You took our people. You burned our history. You called us nothing." Zorax said nothing. His jaw was clenched so tight it hurt. "Today you learned the truth. We are not nothing. We are humanity, and we do not forgive. We do not forget. You can run back to your empire. You can tell them what happened here. Tell them that Earth is coming for them." "You are making a mistake," Zorax managed. "The Empire will send everything it has against you. You will be destroyed." Okonkwo smiled. It was a cold smile without any warmth. "Good, let them come. The more they send, the more we will destroy. Every fleet, every army, every ship. We will break them all. And when we are done, there will be no empire left." The transmission ended. Zorax stood in silence for a long moment. Then he gave the order he never thought he would give. All ships retreat, set course for the sector capital, maximum speed. The surviving Imperial ships fled. Behind them, the human fleet made no move to pursue. They had made their point. Now they had other work to do. General Okonkwo turned to Admiral Kim. How many did we lose? 37 ships destroyed, 22 damaged but repairable. Crew losses are still being counted, but it looks like around 4,000. Okonkwo closed his eyes for a moment, honoring the dead. 4,000 lives. It was a heavy price, but the Empire had paid a much heavier one. Begin Phase 2, he ordered. Send the liberation fleets to their targets. It is time to free our people. Over the following months, human ships appeared throughout Imperial space. They struck mining colonies where human slaves worked. They attacked transport convoys carrying captured humans to distant worlds. They raided supply depots and military bases. And everywhere they went, they freed humans and gave them a choice. Join the fight or go home to Earth. Most chose to fight. The Empire tried to respond. They sent fleets to hunt the human raiders, but the humans were too fast, too unpredictable. They would attack, free the slaves, and vanish before Imperial forces could arrive. It was like trying to catch smoke with your hands. Within a year, humanity had freed over 2 million of their people. They had also destroyed 300 Imperial warships and countless smaller vessels. The Empire was bleeding, and there seemed to be no way to stop it. Grand Admiral Zorax was called before the Imperial Council to explain his failure. He stood in the Great Hall, surrounded by the most powerful beings in the galaxy, and tried to describe what he had faced. They are unlike any enemy we have encountered, he said. They do not fight for territory or resources. They fight for revenge. They fight because we hurt them and they want to hurt us back. They will not stop. They will never stop. The High Emperor, a massive Velkari who had ruled for 200 years, looked down at Zorax with cold eyes. You are telling me that you cannot defeat primitives who were using chemical rockets when we first encountered them. They are not primitives anymore, Your Majesty. They have adapted our technology and improved upon it. Their ships are faster than ours. Their weapons can penetrate our shields, and they have something we do not have. What? Zorax hesitated. Rage, Your Majesty, pure, burning rage. We made them hate us, and that hate has made them strong. The Emperor was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke, his voice like thunder. Assemble the Grand Fleet, every warship in the Empire. We will go to Earth ourselves and end this rebellion once and for all. When we are done, there will not be a single human left alive. Zorax bowed. As you command, Your Majesty. But as he left the council chamber, he felt something he had never felt before in his long career. Fear. Real fear. Because he had looked into the eyes of humanity and he had seen something that terrified him. He had seen that they were not afraid of the Empire, not even a little, and that made them the most dangerous enemy the galaxy had ever known. The Grand Fleet of the Galactic Empire was the largest military force ever assembled in history. 5,000 warships, crewed by millions of soldiers from 100 different species. It took 6 months to gather them all, and when they were finally ready, they blotted out the stars themselves. The High Emperor himself came to lead the fleet. He stood on the bridge of the Imperial throne, the largest warship ever built. From there, he would watch as humanity was erased from existence. How many ships do the humans have now? He asked Grand Admiral Zorax. Our latest intelligence suggests approximately 600 vessels, Your Majesty. They have been building constantly since their rebellion began. The Emperor laughed. 600 against 5,000. This will be no battle, it will be an execution. On Earth, General Okonkwo received reports of the approaching fleet. He gathered his commanders and showed them the numbers. 5,000 ships, he said. They are bringing everything they have. Admiral Kim studied the display. We cannot fight them directly. Even with our technological advantages, we would be overwhelmed by sheer numbers. No, Okonkwo agreed. We cannot, but we do not have to. He pulled up another display. For the past year, we have not just been freeing our people. We have been arming them. We have been training them. We have been giving them ships. New dots appeared on the display. Hundreds of them, thousands of them, spread across the galaxy, hidden in asteroid fields and behind dead planets. An army had been growing. When the Grand Fleet leaves to attack Earth, they will leave the rest of the Empire undefended. And that is when we strike. Not here, everywhere. Kim understood. We draw them here, then hit their home worlds while they are away. More than that, we hit their supply lines, their communications, their fuel depots, everything they need to keep that fleet running. By the time they reach Earth, they will have nothing to go back to. It was a bold plan. Some would say a crazy plan. But humanity had been planning for this moment for decades. Every detail had been worked out. Every piece was in place. The Grand Fleet entered the Sol system on the anniversary of the first invasion. The Emperor thought this was fitting. He would end the human rebellion on the same day it should have begun. What he found was not what he expected. The human fleet was there, but it was not defending Earth. Instead, it was deployed in loose formations throughout the system, avoiding direct engagement. Every time Imperial ships moved to attack, the humans retreated, drawing them further in. They are afraid, the Emperor said. They know they cannot defeat us, so they run. Zorax was not so sure. He had fought humans before. He knew they did not run without a reason. Your Majesty, perhaps we should proceed with caution. This could be a trap. A trap with what? We have 5,000 ships. They have a fraction of that. Press the attack. I want Earth burning by sunset. The Grand Fleet advanced. The human ships continued to retreat, always staying just out of reach. Hours passed, then a day, then 2 days. The Emperor grew impatient. Then the reports started coming in. Your Majesty, we have lost contact with the sector capital. Our supply depot at Vega has been destroyed. The fuel station at Proxima is under attack. Human ships have been spotted in the core systems. They are targeting our infrastructure. The Emperor's face went pale as report after report came in. Across the entire empire, human forces were striking at vital targets, not military bases, but the things that kept the empire running: fuel, food, communications, manufacturing. They tricked us, the Emperor realized. They drew us here while they attacked everywhere else. We must return, Zorax urged. If we do not protect the core worlds, the Empire will collapse. But returning was not simple. The Grand Fleet had traveled far, and now their supply lines were being cut. Ships began reporting fuel shortages. Ammunition was running low, and the human fleet, which had been retreating, suddenly stopped. General Okonkwo's face appeared on the Imperial communication channels. "Hi, Emperor," he said. "Welcome to the Sol system. I hope you enjoy your stay because you will be here for a while." "What have you done?" the Emperor demanded. "What you did to us 30 years ago. We have taken everything from you, your supplies, your fuel, your empire. Right now, your home world is watching human ships fill their sky, just like we watched your ships all those years ago. You will pay for this." "We already have paid," Okonkwo replied. "For 30 years we paid, now it is your turn." The human fleet attacked. It was not a fair fight. The Imperial ships were low on fuel and ammunition. Their crews were demoralized by news from home, and the humans fought with the fury of a people who had waited a generation for this moment. The battle lasted 3 days. When it ended, the Grand Fleet was no more. 4,000 ships destroyed or captured. 1,000 more surrendered when they ran out of fuel. The High Emperor himself was taken prisoner when his flagship was boarded by human marines. General Okonkwo met him in the brig of the Elena Vasquez. The once mighty ruler looked small now. his 4 arms bound and his eyes filled with disbelief. "How?" the emperor asked. "How did you do this? You were nothing, primitives, insects." Okonkwo looked at him for a long moment. "That was your mistake. You thought we were nothing because we were different from you, because we did not have your technology or your ships, but you did not understand what we did have." "What?" "Each other. For 30 years, every human on Earth, every human in your mines and factories and slave camps worked toward one goal: freedom. You gave us a common enemy. You united us in a way we had never been united before. And then you made the biggest mistake of all." "What mistake?" "You let us learn. You brought us into your empire and showed us how it worked. You taught us how to build ships and weapons. You gave us access to your knowledge. Did you think we were too stupid to use it?" The emperor had no answer. Okonkwo turned to leave, then stopped. "There is something else you should know. We are not going to destroy the empire. We are going to free it. Every species you have conquered, every world you have enslaved, we are going to give them the same choice you gave us: serve or die, except we are going to let them choose freedom." He walked out, leaving the emperor alone with the ruins of everything he had built. 5 years after the fall of the Grand Fleet, the galaxy was a very different place. The Galactic Empire was gone, broken into 100 free worlds. Species that had been enslaved for centuries were governing themselves for the first time. Trade routes that had served only the Empire now belonged to everyone. And at the center of it all was Earth. General Okonkwo had retired from military service. The war was over, and there was no more need for generals. Now he spent his days teaching history at the university that had been built on the ruins of the old imperial governor's mansion. One day, a student raised her hand during a lecture about the rebellion. "Professor, I have a question. Why did humanity not destroy the empire completely? We had the power. We could have conquered them the same way they conquered us." Okonkwo smiled. It was a question he had been asked many times. "Because that would have made us no better than them," he said. "We fought for freedom, not for power. If we had become conquerors ourselves, we would have betrayed everything we fought for." "But are we not still the most powerful force in the galaxy? Is that not the same thing?" "Power and empire are not the same thing. Yes, humanity is powerful. We have the strongest fleet, the best technology, but we do not use that power to rule others. We use it to protect them, to make sure no one else has to suffer what we suffered." The student nodded, but she did not look fully convinced. Okonkwo understood. It was hard for the young generation to truly understand what their parents and grandparents had lived through. They had grown up free. They had never known chains. That was a good thing, he thought. It meant they had succeeded. After class, he walked through the campus. The buildings were new, built with a mix of human and alien technology. Students from a dozen different species studied side by side. It was a sight that would have been impossible 40 years ago. His communicator beeped. It was a message from the Galactic Council, the new governing body that had replaced the Empire. They were requesting his presence at a ceremony. He sighed. He did not like ceremonies, but he went anyway. The ceremony was held at the former Imperial Palace on the Velkari home world. Once, this had been the seat of tyranny. Now it was a museum dedicated to the victims of imperial rule. Millions of beings from across the galaxy had come to see it, to remember what had been done, and to vow that it would never happen again. The Galactic Council consisted of representatives from every free world. At its head was a rotating chair, currently held by a Velkari named Thaxis. He was the grandson of a slave, born in chains on a mining world. Now he spoke for billions. "We are here today to honor those who fought for freedom," Thaxis said, "to remember those who died, and to thank those who led us out of darkness." He turned to Okonkwo. "General James Okonkwo, on behalf of the Galactic Council and all free peoples, we present you with the Medal of Liberation, the highest honor we can bestow." Okonkwo stepped forward to accept the medal. The crowd cheered. He looked out at them, at the faces of so many different species, all united in celebration. "I accept this honor," he said, "but not for myself. I accept it for Elena Vasquez, who started this fight and did not live to see it end. I accept it for Marcus Chen and all the others who died in the resistance. I accept it for the millions of humans who were enslaved and never came home." He paused, gathering his thoughts. The Empire made a mistake when they came to Earth. They thought they were dealing with a primitive species that could be easily conquered. They did not understand that humanity's greatest strength is not our technology or our weapons. It is our refusal to give up. No matter how hard things get, no matter how dark it seems, we keep fighting. We keep hopping. We keep believing that tomorrow can be better than today. The Empire tried to break that spirit. They failed. And in trying, they awakened something they could not control. They gave us a reason to unite. They gave us a common purpose. They forged us into something stronger than we had ever been before. Now, looking out at this council, I see that same spirit in all of you. Species that were once enemies working together. Worlds that were once isolated, connected. A galaxy that was once ruled by fear, now governed by hope. This is what humanity fought for. Not revenge, though we certainly took that. Not power, though we certainly have it. We fought for this. A galaxy where everyone is free. A galaxy where no child is born into slavery. A galaxy where might does not make right. He held up the medal. This belongs to everyone who believed in that dream. Everyone who sacrificed for it. Everyone who never gave up, no matter how impossible it seemed. The war is over, but the work continues. Every day we must choose freedom over tyranny. Every day we must choose hope over fear. Every day we must remember what we fought for and why. The crowd was silent. Then slowly the applause began. It grew and grew until it filled the great hall like thunder. After the ceremony, Okonkwo walked through the gardens of the palace. The Velkari had beautiful gardens, filled with plants from 1,000 worlds. He found a quiet bench and sat down, looking up at the stars. A young Velkari approached him. She was nervous, clutching a data pad to her chest. "Professor Okonkwo, I am sorry to bother you. My name is Zella. I am studying history at the university here." "Hello, Zella. What can I do for you?" "I wanted to ask you something. My grandfather was Grand Admiral Zorax." Okonkwo's expression did not change, but he looked at her more carefully. "I see. He died in prison 5 years ago. Before he died, he told me about the war. He said he finally understood what humans were. He said you were the most dangerous species in the galaxy because you never forget. Your grandfather was not wrong." "But you do forget," Zella said. "You forgave us. You helped rebuild our world. You let us join the council. If you never forget, how could you do that?" Okonkwo considered the question. It was a good one. "We never forget the lesson," he said finally. "We never forget what was done to us because if we forget, it could happen again. But we can forgive the people who did it because holding on to hate forever only poisons you. Your grandfather made terrible choices. He caused immense suffering, but he did not do it alone, and punishing his descendants would not bring back anyone he killed. So vengeance is not the same as justice. No, vengeance is what you feel when you have been hurt. It is natural, it is human. We use that vengeance to fuel our resistance. But justice is what you build when the fighting is over. Justice is making sure it never happens again. That is why we freed the Empire instead of destroying it. That is why your people have a place in the new galaxy." Zella was quiet for a moment. Then she bowed, a traditional Velkari gesture of respect. "Thank you, Professor. I understand now." She left. Okonkwo remained on the bench watching the stars. Somewhere out there, human ships patrolled the space lanes, keeping the peace. Somewhere out there, the children of slaves walked free. Somewhere out there, the galaxy was healing. The Empire had made enemies of Earth. They had thought they could conquer humanity with threats and violence. Instead, they had awakened something ancient and powerful, something that had been part of humanity since the first humans looked up at the night sky and wondered what was out there. The will to survive, the refusal to surrender, the determination to be free. Human vengeance had been terrible. It had shattered an empire that had stood for 1,000 years. But human mercy had built something new in its place, something better. And humanity would protect it forever, because that was what humans did. They fought for what they believed in, they never gave up, and they never ever forgot. The stars twinkled in the darkness, countless points of light stretching to infinity. Each one represented possibility. Each one represented hope. And watching over them all, vigilant and unbreaking, was humanity. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly the point.